Hi, everyone. In just a second, I'm going to be introducing author Jay Mercer, and we're going to be talking about this brand new book of hers called Triplicity. And I hope I'm saying that right. I kept looking at the word, I'm like, triplicity, right? Okay, triplicity. We're going to be talking on the phone, and I can't wait. This book is YA, but I read so many reviews, and everybody was like, don't just make this a YA. Everybody should read this, and they are right. Talking about an Alaskan cruise, and I've never been to Alaska on a cruise. I've been on cruises, and I thought she did it so well. I felt like I was on the cruise. So everybody, here is. I don't know if I'm going to be calling her I don't know what I'm going to be calling her, but here's Jay Mercer.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited today because I'm speaking with author Jay Mercer, and we are talking about her brand new book, just came out this month, called Triplicity. And I love this book so much. Thank you for talking with me today.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
I read so many good things about this book before I even got to read it myself, which, sometimes happens, but like all my book reviewer people on Instagram were like, you have to read this book. I know it says YA, read it anyway. So, which we don't care anyway. I mean, we love YA books just as much as anybody else. So, but I did love it. I am so happy that I read it. Aren't you? You must be so excited about what everybody's saying about this.
I am really excited, and I'm glad that it's been so well received by adults too, obviously. So that's fun.
And I think that we like YA books because it takes us back. This book, all I kept thinking about was oh my gosh, when I was, in high school, I would have read this book 5 times in a row. Because that's what we did back then.
Yes. And I like writing YA books because I feel like they can oftentimes be more hopeful at the end. Obviously, adult novels are also hopeful at the end, but that's kind of more a rule in young adults, I think, that you don't want everything that young adults read to be depressing or anything like that. So that's really fun to focus on the lighthearted sometimes.
Right. And I'm not that into fantasy. And when it comes to YA, I always find there's so much fantasy books out there, a lot.
Yes, there are.
Mm-hmm. So, and it's, because that's what teens are liking. I'm just saying it's not my thing so much. So when I come across a book like this, when it's about relationships and about their parents and those relationships, I just, I really tend to gravitate more towards those. And this one fulfilled that on every level. So it was about parents, it was about their own relationships, it was about being a teenager, and I thought you tapped into that so well. So I'm going to let you tell everybody about the book so I know how, because I don't do giveaways and, nothing like that going on here.
Okay.
So.
Well, it's set on an Alaskan cruise. So 3 teenagers come separately. They don't know each other beforehand to this cruise ship. Navy is with her mother and soon-to-be stepfather, and Isaiah's with his grandma and his grandma's sister, and Jesse is with his dad. So they meet because they're all seated together at their dinner table, which happens on cruise ships if you've never been on one.
Yeah.
If you don't come with enough people, you get sat with strangers. So that's sort of how they run into each other, and they, seeing other teens, they gravitate towards each other, so they sort of just start hanging out that way. And you're only on the boat for the week, and you probably will never see these people again. So why not maybe tell your story a little differently than it's actually happening when they ask you questions about yourself? Because, they are all ashamed about something or unhappy about something or wish something were different in their life at the moment. So they sort of embellish to each other, and then as the week goes on, it's hard to keep up those pretenses. Also, then some thefts start happening on board, and they kind of get in the middle of that, so that also stirs the pot a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah. I love their backstories. I love the name Navy. Where did you get? At first, I kept reading like, "Hey, it's a girl. It is a girl." Like
Yes.
the first chapter, I'm like, "This is a girl," and then by the end, I'm like, "I love that name." I got so attached to her name.
Yes. I actually know someone named Navy. In the acknowledgments, I think I say thank you or thank you to your parents for the name. She she is a teenager, and I just have known her through my daughters, and I just loved the name, so I wanted to use it. And then in the writing of the novel, it sort of worked its way out to have even more meaning. So.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, the one thing I love about reading books are names. I'm such a name person.
Mm-hmm.
And I always envision you guys as authors just like with these like notebooks filled.
Yes. Yep. I have definitely been known to collect lists of names.
Because, it so matters. And it matters to us as a reader because if we don't like a name right away, we're like, oh, that's so common. Oh, that's this. We're finicky like that. And so that's why when I kept going back, I'm like, oh, I really like this. I like this name.
When I hear something I like, I have to write it down before I forget it.
Yes. And you don't want to make a lot of characters with weird names. That's
right.
what I love that you did. It's like just one. The others, it's like, those are good, but they're like names the boys are names you would hear. But like, I love that her name is like the one that's different,
Yep.
So anyway, let's talk about what I love about this book is the cover. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I'm like, all of a sudden I'm choking. Okay, go ahead.
Robin of my custom book cover did that for me. And I struggled with telling her what I wanted at first. And when I finally was able to like pull out the main things that I was looking for, she just, ran with it. I didn't give her any, I didn't tell her what to do by any means. I just sort of gave her the sun/necklace I wanted in there, the cruise ship, some, nod to water, and she just did that. And the minute I saw it, I couldn't stop looking at it. So I can say that because I didn't design it, right?
Oh, I know. I kept going back and looking at it too. Yeah, as I'm reading it, I was like, it's so simple. And then I was like, it's gorgeous. It's so different from anything I've seen lately. And so it just stands out, as a matter of fact, when I go to the bookstore this weekend, I'm going to go hunt it down just to see it in person. I never get to see them, so I definitely want to see it. But okay, where did you come up with this title?
Well, I tend to start my stories on themes. So the original seeds for this novel were that quote in the beginning where it's like there's three sides to every story. So I wanted there to be three main characters who had three sort of different truths, and so triplicity as opposed to duplicity, kind of where there's like the double, and also because of all the lies. Duplicity definitely is more on the dishonesty kind of definition, but sort of a play on that too with triplicity with the three of them. So,
well, I think it's a title that's so perfect for YA because I think that, the younger crowd really looks for a different title. I don't know. That's what I've seen in the bookstores, and I was like, oh, this is so perfect for that.
Okay.
One word, kind of like one word titles that just grab you, and you're like, oh, what's that about, And that's so I thought it was absolutely perfect. But I want to tell everybody how this book starts out. We start off with Navy, and I always look for a great first line, and I thought this was an amazing first line. She says, masses of people stood in line to board the incubator in front of me. Sorry, cruise ship. I love that. I laughed as I read it the first time. I was like, that is such a great line because I've been on a cruise, and that is kind of how it feels.
And hopefully it gives you a hint to her character too, because she does think about that.
Yes.
The German stuff. So,
yeah, it leads you to her personality. Like right away, you're hit with her personality, I think, and I love that. And then the end of the first chapter, we end with Isaiah saying, to Navy, I'm glad they sat me with you, because, like you said, they do sit you with people, and for anybody who's never been on a cruise ship, that is what happens. And she kind of just says, "Well, I'm glad they sat me with you," and then he says, "I'm glad they sat me with you," and then that lead, because we know, like, Isaiah's just, it leads to what happens with him for the rest of the story. So I love that.
Yes,
it's always one of my favorite. That's my second favorite line, is the one that's leading into the second chapter. And you do
good. I'm glad you felt that way.
Yeah, I do. And because the chapters are, we have the different points of view, but I guess I looked at the chapters as the days, which really there are 7.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to there to look for it, and I was like, and that wrapped up day 1. So I thought that was just perfect for ending day 1, because when you're on a cruise, that is exactly what happens anyway. You are set by your days. I mean, your schedule is per day. So, and I love that you let us know what was going on with the Alaskan cruise, because I've never been on one, but I always wanted to go on one. Did you go on one?
Yes. Yes, I did go on one.
I heard they're beautiful.
They are beautiful. And the glacier is as amazing as I could try to describe it. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's not bad research for the book, right? It's
right.
To go on the cruise.
Yeah. The cruise did come first and inspired the setting, but yes.
Yeah, and the scenes were just, this is a very character-based book, but I did love all the scenery that you put in there, and I don't know. Like I said, it makes me want to go even more than I wanted to go before. So, do you highly suggest the 7-day ones, though? Because I've seen there are shorter ones.
Well, I don't know. I guess that's the only one. It's the only cruise I've been on.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where they would go to, how many cities they would cut off if you went to a shorter one.
Right.
So I guess that would kind of depend what you would be missing that way.
Right, exactly. Okay, so you're out promoting this book right now, but I assume you're writing another one, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Tell us about that, or what you can tell us.
Well, the next one does not have a short title. It's called Perfection and Other Elusive Things, elusive with an I, like illusions. So that one is about a girl who wakes up one morning, and like I'm sure most of us, especially as teenagers, there's always something you would like to change about your appearance. So she wakes up and sort of like in big, except she hasn't grown into an adult, but she wakes up and she thinks suddenly she's pretty much exactly how she's always wanted to look. So it kind of follows from there. Did this really happen? Is it in her head? What caused it? How does it change her? And there's, again, relationships are probably my favorite thing to write about. So it's very relationship heavy with a strong best friend, a strong mother figure, a brother in this novel that she's sort of navigating towards. And so she sort of takes this new confidence she has and runs with it and sort of messes up her life a little bit in the process. So kind of balancing all of those things.
Well, I think you do relationships so well. I always think it's so difficult to write YA because they're so, to not make it too relevant technology-wise. And I thought you did that really well. They do have cell phones and, but when you get into I watch my teenagers and I'm and they, every year it's something. It's something
right.
They're communicating differently all the time.
Yeah.
And you don't want to date it, but you want to keep it relevant. So I always think that's the hardest genre to work with because teenagers are reading it. And I don't know, how do you feel about that? Do you find it difficult to write?
I do, and I've changed things in different novels because of that. And I feel like Snapchat is the thing right now that is the most prevalent, but you don't, you definitely date a book if you put something so similar to Snapchat in it. So I do try and stay a little generic as far as messaging or, kind of like that. And I'm not sure if that reads better or worse, but for me, it feels awkward to write too detailed in what is the current trend. It was a lot easier with triplicity because they were on a boat and
Right.
they don't have as much,
Communication.
right. Their access isn't as good as it would be when they're on land, and then also they just have all these other things to do. So, hopefully, most kids going on a cruise ship would wander around and not be stuck on their phone. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. It's like, I think it's something different that from any other generation of writers who've written YA is that, they didn't have to really mess with that too much. But now with our kids walking around, and yeah, my sons do use Snapchat and, like all that. And I just don't even, I try it. And then they're like, no, Mom. That's not it.
I do really like Snapchat, actually, but I only communicate with a small number of people on it, so it's not like the way my kids do it, where they have, like, everyone they know, that's on there.
Oh, and they're checking it, like, 24/7. Like, it's just this constant thing. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I thought, so I always ask YA authors that because to me it's like that would just be so tricky. But, yeah, it was really easy to do on a cruise ship. So
yeah, well, and I do know some authors who do set their novels in the 80s before cell phones were such a big thing.
Right.
But then you're talking historical fiction now. So
I know.
How crazy is that? Yeah.
It's pretty crazy when the 80s is like historical fiction, I think.
Yeah.
But well, thank you so much for talking with me. I can't wait to read your next book. I love these characters. I love the ending. We don't talk ending, but I love the way you did the ending.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I love your writing. So I kept saying that the whole time I was reading it. I was kind of talking to you. I was like, oh, this is so good. This is so good. This is as good as everybody said. So
thank you
I'm so happy for you, and I can't wait to see what it does. And you know where to find me for the next one because I'll read it.
Yes, great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll have all of her links listed below so you can find her everywhere. I already found you on Instagram. I went over there this morning.
I'm the same. I'm J. Mercer Books everywhere, I think, so it should be
everywhere.
Easy enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Basically, it's pretty easy, right? But I'll have the links listed, and I'll have the Amazon. You can already go get it. The book's been out for 10 days, so you can go over there and order it right away. So thank you so much, and we'll talk soon, okay?
Great. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
She was so sweet. This book is so good. And, I started choking in the middle of the interview. Luckily, I had a cold cup of coffee to drink. I've done 430 interviews, and I have never started choking in the middle. So if I sound really weird, it's just, I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk and I couldn't breathe. So thank you for bearing with me, because if you made it this far, you heard it. And I don't know, maybe I can edit some of it out. We'll see what I do. Anyway, thank you. Thank you so much for this interview. All of Jay's links are going to be listed below. Go get it. If you like YA novels, if you're like me and you like them, go get it for yourself. If not, if you have a teenage daughter, go get it for her. And I say daughter because I think daughters read more of these relationship books. But anyway, thank you everyone for listening. Please hit like if you enjoyed my conversation with her, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.